Back to Andrew Luck. No, he's not a Hall of Famer.
Whoa, that's not nice.
No, I mean,
he was
he
hurt?
only played six games. 6 years. So you're looking at Gale Sayers. You know, they say he was able to make it. I think he played 6 years. And then you have, they say he was able to make it because of his, like the league never seen anything like Gale Sayers. His speed and how dynamic he was, as a running back. So that's how he was able to get in. And then you had TD, Terrell Davis, running back for the Denver Broncos. He had 2 Super Bowl rings. So basically what they're saying is if Andrew Luck won a Super Bowl or 2, he probably would have had an opportunity or a chance to get in. ESPN posted something maybe a week ago. And they said, who would you take in your prime? So I'm going to ask you guys this. Who would you take in their prime? Andrew Luck, Tony Romo, or Cam Newton?
In their prime?
In their prime. Starting with Ashley, then we go to Corey. Who do you take in their prime?
I'd probably go Cam.
Okay. Why Cam?
I just think his physical dominance was just insane. Like when he was in his prime, I mean, Superman for a reason. Just there, you could make an argument that Andrew Luck's accuracy was better. I probably wouldn't argue that if someone tried to make that argument because it's true. Tony Romo had that incredible spin factor about him. He was able to get himself out of situations. But that physical just dominance, that athleticism of Cam Newton, I think set the tone for a lot of the quarterbacks that we see today.
Yeah.
So I would go Cam.
Okay. All right. Corey?
For that reason that you brought up for Andrew Luck and maybe a legitimate argument for someone that would go with him, that's literally why I think I'm going with Andrew Luck, just because of the accuracy element. And, I mean, as a receiver, you'd like more of a drop back style quarterback, and I guess that's just the receiver in me wanting to go with Andrew Luck. But yeah, it was close. I would say it was an easy answer after you named the first 2 names, but then when you threw in Cam Newton, that made it a little harder. It's not easy picking Andrew Luck over Cam Newton because Cam Newton, I mean, he had it all special. Like, that year where he won the MVP and took the Panthers to the Super Bowl, he showed us a lot, and he was really unstoppable, of course, until that Super Bowl. But I think I might have to go Andrew Luck.
Wow, no love for Tony Romo.
I love Romo. That was my quarterback.
So
That's my quarterback.
I picked Cam Newton in that chat, and everybody, a lot of people crushed me. And they're like, Cam Newton, you're only picking him because he's black, because of race. I'm like, what? No, I'm picking him because he's the only one that went to a Super Bowl and won MVP.
Yeah.
If we're saying prime and comparing all 3 of them to Cam's 2015 year,
that's what I'm saying. That's
sorry,
tough.
man.
But I would say in defense of Andrew Luck, I think if he continued playing, he definitely would have at one point win an MVP.
Tony Romo got full everything squeezed out of his career.
That's Christmas every day.
Yeah.
I feel like, though,
Cam
if we
Newton.
keep it in a buck, Tony Romo does not get the respect that he deserves as a quarterback.
Is he a Hall of Famer? That might be the question.
No.
A better question. You don't think Tony Romo's Hall of Famer?
No.
Why is Tony Romo not a Hall of Famer?
What did he do? Let me look at his stats. So
he got the Cowboys to the playoffs.
Let me see.
He has some competitive
Sure, that's
teams.
not just fandom, right?
No, I'm just curious why Tony Romo's not a Hall of Famer, because I mean he's broken a bunch of Cowboy records.
Cowboy records mean nothing.
No,
it's
at
about
one
league
point,
records.
Well, he does have more yards than Cam by 2000.
But Cam may not be a Hall of Famer.
He also Cam Newton.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if you guys wanted to have that conversation, but I really
Cam
wanted
Newton
to
may
ask
not
you
be
that.
a Hall of Famer.
After going to a Super Bowl and winning a league MVP.
Yeah.
Didn't he leading the league in rushing multiple times as a quarterback? You don't think that he would be a Hall of Famer?
He may not be. No.
I wasn't sure. It's funny we're talking.
I mean,
about
we're
this now.
talking about if you pull up his stats.
Yeah.
Who?
Pull
Cam?
up Cam Newton's
He
stats.
has good stats.
And how many years he played and how many years did he actually dominate?
So look,
2 to 3 years where he dominated like that?
I don't know.
Is that enough? It's the same conversation around Andrew Luck.
He got 11 seasons.
11 seasons, and can you go through some of those numbers?
If I'm judging off of passing yards, I would say he started taking.
No,
a
you can't
dip.
just do that. You got to go
No?
through all of it because Cam he's a dual threat.
Oh, absolutely.
Huh?
Where's his rushing? Well, I mean, he started out the gate with 4,000 yards his first year, but I'm trying to find his rushing
So
yards.
listen, Tony Romo, I'm trying to see where he ranks. Mind-blowing stats. Romo is the Cowboys' all-time leader.
Tony
in
Romo,
passing
13
yards.
seasons, threw for over 34,000 yards, 250 touchdowns, was selected to play in 4 Pro Bowls.
4 Pro Bowls.
In comparison to Cam's 3.
Quarterback
Okay.
stats.
Like, I would say he's a better quarterback, but Cam's rushing yards just blow Tony Romo right out of the water.
Yeah.
Like, Tony Romo had 620 rush yards to Cam's 5,628.
Not only that, but Tony Romo right now, obviously Aikman has a Super Bowl. He had a much better team, a more dominant team than Romo had most of his career. There was only a few seasons that I feel like that team was really a team that could have won, and that was the year the refs screwed us with the Des no catch or whatever. We won't go there.
But
Tony Romo has more
Tony Romo
yards.
isn't even top
Tony
20
Romo
in
has
yards,
more
though.
yards than Aikman, Staubach, Danny White, and Don Meredith. He's leading, number 1.
But listen, he's not top 20 in passing yards. All right, so let's go through this passing yard leaders. Tom Brady's first. Then you have Kerry Collins sitting at 20. No Tony Romo in between.
He has
Touchdowns.
a 78 and 49 record on 160 games played.
Doesn't matter. Now let's go to touchdowns. Quarterback. Sorry, I wanted to see quarterback.
I don't know. I feel like
NFL passing yards career. Passing yards, passing touchdowns. Let's go to passing touchdowns.
he has the same completion rating as Peyton Manning in his career.
Doesn't matter.
So basically, the only thing that would put Peyton Manning and Troy Aikman and Staubach is that Tony Romo doesn't have a ring for a team sport.
Passing yards, he's not top 20. Passing
TD,
TDs, he's not top 20.
he's 25.
Okay.
It's like right there.
What else do we have? Passer rating. Maybe he cracks the top 20 in passer rating. Let's see that. Passer rating. Is he there? He's not top 20. No, yes he is. He's 11. 97. What else do we want to look at?
I don't know. I feel like Tony Romo doesn't get the same respect as some
Passing
of the
yards
Hall of
per
Famers.
game.
His numbers are not drastically worse than any of them. In some situations, if you take the ring out of the equation,
Passing
in some
yards a game,
situations he
he's
has
not
better
top
records
20.
than them. All right, I'm looking at current Hall of Famers. I'm not looking at league. I'm looking at guys who have
But
made.
you got to look at where. So
I'm looking at the numbers of guys who have made the Hall of Fame as quarterbacks.
during that time. We weren't passing it 40, 50 times a game. So those guys that you named, they were
Peyton
able
Manning
to do
and
that
him played
in
in
their
the same
era.
era.
You got to do that in the era. You're saying he has the same.
He's the same completion rating as Peyton Manning.
That's one stat
I
line.
didn't
Completion
deep dive into it, but he has the same completion rating he has the same.
Yeah, but
a lot of the same
completion rating-
numbers as current quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame that he was in the same era
completion
with.
rating doesn't get you a Hall of Fame nod.
I'm not saying just the completion rating, but what I'm saying is I didn't deep dive into it, but looking just like quick glance, a lot of the guys who are currently in the Hall of Fame that he played in the same era as them, his numbers are the same or better.
I just named the passing.
The only,
I just said
difference
passing yards.
is that he doesn't have any Super Bowls.
What about passing yards, touchdowns?
I mean, I have a deep dive into it. I don't have enough
just
time to
did.
really go into it. Of current Hall of Famers, I'm not
Yes.
talking league.
Yes, these is all time. All time.
They're all in the Hall of Fame right now.
It's not all in the Hall of Fame.
I'm only
but
counting
these is,
current Hall of Famers. I'm comparing him to current quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame.
Okay. You want to compare him to current quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame?
That's the only compare. I don't care about wide receivers. I don't care about.
We're only
we're
going.
talking about I'm only going
Where
quarterbacks.
receivers come in at.
I'm saying I'm only comparing.
Tony
to
Romo's
quarterbacks.
numbers are okay. They're not okay numbers. Don't give you a nod to the Hall of Fame.
That's why I hate the Giants, because take the two Super Bowls out of the way that Eli has won. Eli's numbers are not that impressive. They're
But
mediocre
you can't
at best.
remove Super Bowls that he earned.
But that's why
Actually,
the Hall,
no, that's not
why
true.
the Hall of Fame is like kind of the criteria is a little because you could have mediocre numbers, but 2 Super Bowl or multiple Super Bowl rings or a Super Bowl ring and still get in.
But that's
If
the
we were
hardest
looking
thing
at
to do is get the
numbers-
Super Bowl.
Huh?
That's the hardest thing to do is get the Super
But
Bowl.
it's
So
a
if he
team
got it, you
sport
can't take it
winning
away
a
from
Super
him.
Bowl.
Eli Manning is 10th all time in passing yards.
BC says, say it again.
Eli Manning is 10th all time
Don't get me started
in
on
passing TDs.
Don't get me started on the Eli Manning stop.
No, I agree with you there. And then the Super Bowl rings add so much more to it. But Eli Manning's numbers, low key, are really good.
Yeah, like Tony Romo had 34,000 passing yards in his career, and Eli had 57,000.
Right.
Like, come on,
no, he's
Ashley.
not a Hall of Famer.
Don't be
Can
a
we
hater.
talk about Cam Newton, though? Can we talk about him a little bit? You don't think he will be a Hall of Famer?
Let me look at the
honestly,
numbers.
Brandon,
I wasn't prepared for this.
No, I know. I wasn't either. I wasn't either.
Newton.
Might have to
It's the
retouch
same
this
thing.
subject
Like
again.
Ashley saying current Hall of Famers. I'm looking at overall.
Right.
Like you gotta. It's about how you stack up. How you stack up against the entire field, but then you break it down into eras, right? Because as a wide receiver, 1,000 yards back then was more valuable than 1,000 yards today, right? So you have to look at eras because the game was played differently. But Cam Newton,
How about
he's
this?
different because he's a dual threat quarterback.
And he changed the game.
I wouldn't say he changed the game. You
It's-
had Mike Vick, you had Randall Cunningham, you had guys that came before him that did that.
But yes, but I think that Cam elevated that formula that was already pre-existing. If you get what I'm saying. I think that Cam was Cam took what Vic did.
No.
Cam took what
Lamar did.
No. What I'm saying is, well, yes, but Lamar came after Cam.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Cam. Maybe
Vic is the blueprint. But what I'm saying is that Vic being the blueprint, Cam took that, and all the quarterbacks after him took that and just elevated the game of what it looked like to be an athletic quarterback based on what Vic did. If you get what I'm saying,
Right.
Like they elevated his blueprint. He was the originator.
So Cam's first year 6-10, second year 7-10, 7-9, excuse me, then 12-4, 5-8, 15-1, 6-8, 11-5, 6-8, 0-2, 7. So from what I'm reading now, he had 3 winning seasons out of 10.
Yeah, but what would those teams look like though?
You're the quarterback. That doesn't matter.
I don't care about, but don't give me team. I don't care about team
You
record.
have to.
Why?
Because you're the quarterback. The quarterback is always going to be judged by wins and losses. That's just
the game.
That's the game.
That's why I say you can't take away Eli's 2 Super
Yikes.
Bowls.
I'm not taking him away.
I think it's crazy. This is a stat I just found. Cam Newton has more rushing touchdowns than like 8 Hall of Fame running backs.
Cam Newton was the real deal Holyfield, man.
That is actually wild to me. 75 career rushing touchdowns. You got O.J. Simpson that's behind him. You got Terrell Davis that's behind him.
The juice.
You
It's
got,
loose.
Larry Zonka that's behind him. You got Earl Campbell, I believe, that was behind him. Those are like legitimate Hall of Famers.
Yeah, it all comes down to how they view Cam Newton, right? And I don't know the criteria around the Cam Newton in the Hall of Fame, right? Yeah. As a quarterback, his numbers don't match up to the greatest. Now as a dual threat, and what he's been able to bring to the game, totally different. But I don't know how they approach, Cam Newton and what he's been able to bring to the game. It's going to be the same thing with Lamar as well. Lamar, I think he's more efficient and he's a better thrower than Cam Newton. But, there's guys that come along that changes things that you have to account for. Devin Hester, why hasn't Devin Hester gotten in yet? He should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? They look at him as a punt returner, kick returner, but, man, the dude changed the game. People were kicking out of bounds before kicking it to him. So
Fair enough, and I think we're out of time.